I say with pride that Reth is not only my daughter. Aretha is just a stone singer. The blood's gone cold, the heart stopped beating, but Aretha Franklin's secrets have never truly rested. When her youngest son finally spoke out after a DNA test, what fans had long suspected suddenly came to light. A painful, brutal, and shocking truth was confirmed. This isn't just about an estate or a courtroom dispute anymore. It's a haunting rift in her legacy, a blow that hits straight at what audiences thought they knew so well about this immortal idol. Between the blinding spotlight and the shadow of a secret, Aretha's story now emerges as a long-hidden tragedy. Before we dive into this dramatic quest for the truth, don't forget to like and subscribe because what you're about to hear is guaranteed to break your heart. It wasn't the spotlight or the applause that once moved the world's biggest stages, but the vacuum left behind when Aretha Franklin, the Queen of Soul, died. Her passing in 2018 stopped the world in its tracks. Her departure not only stole a voice that made history, but also opened a dark door straight into a tangled family labyrinth where secrets, smudged handwritten notes, and rumors passed down for generations began to pour out into the light. People often remember Aretha on stage with her eyes closed, her voice a sustained prayer. But few could have known that behind that shining crown, her life left a silence so chaotic that even her own children had to take each other to court to find answers. The cruel irony lies here. A woman who once stood before millions, asserting her worth with a voice no one could imitate, yet at the end of her life, she left no clear typewritten will to protect her family's unity. Instead, people found scraps of paper crisscrossed with scribbled words, one even tucked inside an old sofa cushion. These papers didn't just decide the division of assets or music rights. They reopened deep wounds and painful memories no one wanted to revisit. All four of her sons, Clarence, Edward, Ted White II, and Kecaf, were suddenly pulled into a vortex of suspicion, challenge, and public judgment. Fans accustomed to an invincible Aretha Franklin were now shaken by a family unraveling over handwritten notes. And amidst this turmoil, the name Clarence, Aretha's eldest son, resurfaced. Not just because he was the firstborn, but because for decades, the story of Clarence's biological father had been a simmering topic of discussion, leaving the Franklin family with no peace. People said Clarence was the result of a romance that began too early, a quiet wound in Aretha's life when she was too young to withstand society's harsh prejudices. In her notes, Aretha wrote that Clarence's father was Edward Jordan Sr., but the whispers never ceased. Some swore they heard a different name, while others insisted that without genetic testing, this secret would forever hang over the family's head. This was no ordinary family. This was the family of Aretha Franklin, the black woman who rose from a tumultuous childhood to become a legend. But that very fact made the rumors even heavier. In a community once oppressed by prejudice, the story of bloodlines and whose father isn't just a private matter. It's a wound to one's pride, something outsiders can easily twist to cause harm. And when this eldest son, Clarence, became a central figure in the estate dispute, all suspicions surged as if fate were forcing this family to confront the ghost of the past. The truth is, when Aretha took her last breath, she left behind an immortal musical legacy. But legally, everything was a mess. Rings, houses, royalties, even the paintings on the walls all became kindling for a legal battle. The sons, already harboring simmering conflicts, were now pushed into the harsh public light. They had to prove not only their love for their mother but also their legitimacy, their right to inherit, and even the most private details of their relationship with the deceased. In that chaos, whispers of a DNA test suddenly became the focal point. Fans began asking each other, is it finally time for the truth about Clarence, Aretha's eldest son, to be revealed? Would the suspicions of so many years finally get an answer? And if it's confirmed, would it forever change how people see the Queen of Soul? What seemed to have ended with a tearful funeral in 2018 only a year later pulled the Franklin family into a new maelstrom, one opened not by an unreleased recording or a sentimental letter, but by handwritten notes mixed with the smell of old ink and the dust of time. The personal representative with trembling hands meticulously searched every drawer and every nook of the old house, discovering two wills that were not alike at all. One, written in 2010, was found deep inside a locked cabinet. The other, stranger still, was found in a spiral notebook, carefully hidden under the sofa cushions, as if Aretha herself had chosen that hiding place to test her children's future. The discovery quickly sent shockwaves. For an artist of Aretha Franklin's stature, one would expect a meticulously typed, legally sealed will. But no, what was left behind were only pages with crossouts and hurried handwriting, some as if penned during a long, exhausting night. The 2010 version had strict provisions. Ted White II and one of Aretha's nieces would co-manage the estate, while Kekaf and Edward would be required to complete business courses or earn a certificate to inherit. It was like a test for her sons, forcing them to prove their competence through education, not just by being the children of the Queen of Soul. That provision bore the mark of a mother who wanted to control, to make her children grow up, even as she herself was exhausted in her final days. But it was the 2014 version that truly fractured the family. In it, Aretha crossed out Ted White II's role, no longer entrusting him with control. Instead, she named Kekaf, the son who was least in the public eye, as the executor. And most importantly, this version made no mention of educational requirements or degrees at all. It was like a gentle nod, a final reassurance from a mother. You don't need to prove anything else. I trust you. That difference was the spark that lit the fire. Ted White II, who had been placed at the center of the 2010 version, was now suddenly sidelined. To him, the 2010 will was the correct one because it was strict but fair, maintaining a balance among the brothers while setting clear conditions. Conversely, Kekaf and Edward saw the 2014 version as a true reflection of their mother's final wishes. Simple, direct, no longer bound by conditions, no longer calculated. And so, the three brothers were placed on opposite sides of a battlefield. Outsiders might see this as just an estate dispute, but for the Franklin family, it was a battle for honor. It wasn't just about owning houses or the juicy royalties from her timeless songs, but about who their mother truly trusted. The 2010 will had the air of a highly rational mother, while the 2014 will was like a warm whisper. On one side was Ted White II, the son who had been closely associated with Aretha's strictness. On the other, Kekaf and Edward, who believed they were chosen to carry on her legacy. Arguments began to surface, not just within the family, but in the public eye. Fans, already so familiar with Aretha's trembling, soulful voice, now saw her own family trembling in a different kind of tragedy.